Hi, I'm McLoughlin. I'm with my co-host Cam Stuart, and this is the second installment of Insider Sports Access. We are going to be having a lot to talk about today as we recap the Hoop Hall Classic, which I visited last weekend. We're also going to be giving a preview to the Beanpot tournament, which is a 4-team tournament with 4 Boston Division I schools for hockey. And then we're going to be talking about the well-anticipated Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Seahawks. Maybe we'll talk about the Flakegate, who knows. So we're going to get started. And Cam, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, Brian. I really am. Very excited for the second show. Love to talk Beanpot as always, and no stranger to talking about the Patriots too. So this should be a good one. Yeah,
it's going to be a good one. We got a lot to talk about today, but let's start it out with a little Hoop Hall Classic action. So the 5-day tournament was the other weekend, Martin Luther King Day weekend to be exact. A lot of big matchups, a lot of big-time players and big-time coaches and programs. So you just want to talk a little bit about the tournament?
Yeah, it's something we look forward to pretty much every year as high school basketball fans, you and I. And I was pretty envious that you got to go this year, and I unfortunately couldn't make it. But it's really great to see some of the best basketball teams, players, and coaches in the country come up to Massachusetts where the game started. And there, as you know very well, there's a lot of high school basketball tradition up here, and it's great to see some of the very best right here in Springfield.
Well, yeah, it was held, at Springfield College, which is the birthplace of basketball, with James Naismith being a alumni there and a teacher there, and so I think that's why they have it there every year, is because it's really where the game began. It's at the Pure State amateur basketball. It was a lot of big games all weekend long, starting on Thursday with the Massachusetts Boys Day. A lot of big matchups, including the always great Springfield-Putnam, Springfield Central game.
That was again a treat for us. Got to see some of the recaps on that. Sounded like a fantastic game. But I mean, there's just no substitute for Springfield-Putnam, is there, Brian? I mean, back-to-back and going for a third here in Massachusetts. I wouldn't be surprised if they go into some national discussion soon, especially the way they played at the Hoop Hall Classic.
Yeah, I think we're going to get that when we talk a little bit about Saturday, definitely, because they definitely had quite the weekend. There was some questions coming into the matchup on Thursday. Was Putnam as strong as they have been in previous years? During the game, they lost against Central. They lost one of their best players in John Garcia, who went down with an ankle injury, returned after sitting out the second quarter, and then went off for 33 points. That was a high for a lot of the weekend.
Yeah, it definitely shows the fight and players that play at Putnam have. I mean, that's a winning mentality right there, guy. For a team who's won back-to-back state championships, that's a real athlete right there. That's how basketball should be played.
Yeah, so taking one of the Roosevelt Ave rivalry is always good for them. Then we move over to Friday. Friday was the girls' day at the Hoop Hall Classic. We had a lot of good matchups, both with local teams, regional teams, and teams from around the country. We had the one matchup between Capital Prep and South Medford, as you said, was not the South Medford for Massachusetts, which was very confusing for a lot of folks. A lot of folks at the beginning didn't see that it said Oregon next to the name on the program, and we're kind of curious to see, who's this team marching in here.
Yeah, as I mentioned last time, the great Kyle Singler's alma mater there, it's South Medford. But I thought it was interesting that you brought that up, because there really was a shortage of Massachusetts teams. I mean, from what we've seen from Braintree and Archbishop Williams, Fenway up north, I mean, some really great basketball teams here for the girls, and just for whatever reason, just not a lot of showing in the Hoop Hall this year.
Yeah, it was mostly just like a Western Mass, kind of deal. A lot of they didn't have Braintree this year. Braintree had earlier already played, teams from around the country when they played Christ the King from New York in their own tournament. Capital Prep also played in that tournament, but were unable. Braintree and Capital Prep did not play each other. Because, boy, they did. That would be a great, great matchup. One of the best in the state, I would say. I would go to that.
Yeah, and we talk about our local angle. Braintree, number 1 in the state. I don't think they're going to be stopped. I mean, that is a well-oiled machine. They've already imposed their will on Archbishop Williams this year, who I thought would be their biggest challenge. I mean, they're one heck of a team over at Braintree. I mean, I think could be unstoppable.
Yeah, that is definitely for sure. Then we're going to move over to Saturday now. I've been waiting to talk about this the entire time preparing for this show. Springfield Putnam played a second game in the Hoop Ball Classic. They played number 22 in the nation, Corona de Sal. And boy, did they answer all questions that they are going to be able to, if they can contend, because they took a nationally ranked team to overtime and lost by 3 points in one of the best games I've ever seen, ever.
From what I've heard from all of this was really a great game. And as you said, that proves Putnam, that proves Massachusetts high school basketball. They took them to OT, they took them right down to the wire. It was really something great to see for the state.
Yeah, and Putnam was without, you know how we said Garcia went down with an injury. They actually sat him out during the game. You got to think now, if they had Garcia in there, could have they actually pulled off the upset? You're in a lot of people were then talking about bringing Putnam into the national ranks, if they should be ranked, if they shouldn't. It all comes down to pending, because it's so hard to rank teams throughout the country, to have 50 teams in the whole country out of thousands of high schools. But they definitely made some noise. They definitely were in the conversation. And that's something that you really don't see that often with Massachusetts teams, at least on the men's side. You have Braintree and Archbishop Williams on the women's side. But for the men's, you don't really see that. And to finally have a team that can come out here and contend like they did, and frankly, really almost like I remember, being in that gym that night, they were ready to storm the court. Like, they had to bring extra security. Springfield out of nowhere just brought random people in their maroon shirts for security, because there was about to be a huge party at Springfield College.
Yeah, and you mentioned the national rankings. I mean, it's so tough, high school basketball, to rank these teams. And a lot of it, almost all of it, really comes down to what we see in college basketball as RPI. And I mean, we see Springfield Putnam every day, or on a regular basis as we can out here in Eastern Mass, but I just don't know if they have the competition to. And when they get big games like this, it's really, really vital for them to prove how good they are. And I mean, taking them to overtime, they're probably not going to play a nationally ranked team the rest of the year. I mean, unless something crazy happens. They're not playing Bishop Gorman, they're not playing Finlay Prep, And I think that was big. And just to raise discussions about national rankings, I think is huge for Putnam and for Massachusetts.
Yeah, that is for sure. It was definitely a great game to watch. It was definitely, something that everybody there that's going to be a game that you can talk about, remember for a lifetime, because it was seriously just a display of great basketball. Putnam came out to play. They silenced any critics that they have, with people talking about how they're not as deep as they have been in the past few years. Seeing them, I would put my life on it and that's a big statement, that they win the Division I state championship and go for that three-peat. So call me a Putnam supporter. You'll see me there out at the DCU Center, secretly rooting them on with my press credentials. So
I think a lot of people are going to agree with you, Brian, me included. I think they got number 3 locked up.
Yeah, three-peat. So get those three-peat shirts ready, because the Heat don't have that trademark yet. So we can.
Pat Riley's got a good trademark on it from the '90s though, but
yeah. Who cares? It's high school basketball. But anyways, we got to move on to later on in the weekend. Earlier that day, you had Huntington Prep and Finlay Prep teams that are big national powerhouses, both playing in those games. You just want to give a little insight on that?
I mean, I sort of sound like a broken record here, being a big-time Massachusetts guy, being from Massachusetts, but I just think it's great that we can have teams like that. I mean, Finlay Prep, Huntington Prep, top 10 every year. I mean, it's a lock. These guys are sending people to Duke and Kentucky and Kansas, and I mean, I just think it's great that we get to see them here, and just being able to see them play each other at all is great, and I think, especially in Massachusetts, very special for us, very special.
Yeah, definitely. Finlay Prep came into this tournament the number 1 team in the nation after Montverde Academy, who was the previous number 1 for a long time, who has the number 1 player in the country, Ben Simmons, an LSU commit. Definitely was good to see how well teams are doing out there. But then we're going to go to Sunday was the day when we had the NEPSAC teams, the New England Prep School Athletic Conference. there was some fireworks coming in to this tournament as Brewster Academy, the self-proclaimed best team in the country, as they want to say, who won the National Prep Championship last year, came in with a set mind that they would found out that they weren't playing the Montverde Academy team that had Ben Simmons, but their so-called JV team with their post-grads. Put up 100 points, 100 to 69, definitely sent a message in the game and then in the post-game interviews.
Yeah, Brewster was controversial to say the least that a couple weeks ago. They may say they're the best team in the country. I don't quite know about that. Best team in New England for the past decade or so, as we've seen. And the press conference with their coach there was a little controversial. We'd like to add on to that.
Yeah,
so better than I.
Yeah, so Jason Smith, the head coach for the Brewster Academy team, basically essentially called out Oak Hill, Montverde Academy, Finlay Prep, basically every big name high school team, the elite high school teams in the country, for not scheduling them because they have fifth-year players, post-grads. His quote was that, "We know who our fifth-year players are, and we don't hide it, and that we will play anybody in the country." And he actually said to the Montverde Academy, after calling them their JV team, challenged their coach, "Hey, let's find a gym, let's tip it off, we can beat you." He thinks that he can beat any team, and I don't doubt that Brewster Academy would give them a run for their money, because they have the players. They have like a Jalen Adams, they have the players. But I think he went about it the wrong way. Came out, on Monday that their headmaster for Brewster kind of was like, did not agree with the comments of Smith. Really said that they shouldn't have been said. And then you get the whole thing that Montverde Academy didn't really know that he wanted to schedule him. I guess came out that he never really contacted him, but said that they would entertain the ability to play either in Florida at Brewster or at a neutral site. Just it all depends if they can get the approval from the Florida Athletic Association. Much like if a Massachusetts team wants to play an out-of-state team that isn't in a Hoop Ball Classic setting.
But I mean, this whole controversy and everything, don't you love it? Don't you just love it? I mean, it's like Richard Sherman coaching a high school basketball team. I mean, this is the stuff the media eats up, and I mean, I absolutely loved it. I mean, a little unclassy, yeah, whatever. I mean, I just think it was great. Great publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity, especially in Brewster's case. So I loved it. I mean, classy as it may not have been, I would love to see these two teams play. Bottom line.
Oh, that would be a matchup that I would pay seriously good money for, because it's just good basketball. You got a team that's nationally ranked every year in at least the top 5. This year has the #1 player in the country. And you got a Brewster who has some of the best players in the country that go for post-grad years and then go on to lead teams to national championships in the college ranks. So that would definitely, the whole weekend was a lot of fireworks, a lot of great basketball, a lot of good dunks. You got to see a lot of great performances, and I just think that it was another great year. Sorry, kind of lost my place a little bit there. Great tournament year, and we're going to move on to talk about the Beanpot. So thank you very much. You want to go talk about the Beanpot a little bit?
I could talk about the Beanpot for days. I mean, this is my absolute favorite tournament of anything. The 4 Boston teams, Division I, obviously, those of you who don't know, Boston University, Boston College, Harvard, and Northeastern. We were talking about this before the show. This might be the best Beanpot we've ever seen. I mean, this is like the good old days. 3 of the 4 teams ranked in the top 25. Actually, 3 of them in the top 10, with Boston College creeping up to number 10 in the country. I mean, this is just going to be fantastic college hockey, absolutely at its best, showing them why Hockey East is the best conference in the country. I mean, anytime you have a top 10 matchup as the 5 o'clock game instead of the 8 o'clock game, I mean, you're doing something right. Well, I think you're doing something wrong, but you got some good teams playing.
Yeah, you have the first game, which will be Boston University versus Harvard. Both teams, like Cam said, are, in the top 5 actually with
Oh yeah, so
Harvard
just
being,
creeped into number 5.
yeah,
Correct,
Harvard's
yeah.
number 5 and BU's number 2 and 3, depending on which poll you go look at. But still up there, top. You have Jack Eichel, so I think BU takes that win. But that might just be a little BU biased in me. But
I mean, we both got some BU bias, and I wouldn't be. I'd love to see them win. I would not be surprised if they drop one to Harvard. These past couple of years, Harvard been giving them a lot of fits. Last year, I know it was a consolation game in the Beanpot, but they did lose that one pretty convincingly. I do think BU's the better team, definitely. But I mean, don't rule out the Crimson. Definitely not.
yeah, I think if the Crimson are able to topple the Terriers, you definitely got to watch out if they end up playing BC in the final, that BC will get a run for its money. I think this year is the year that BC gets knocked off its pedestal a little bit, and I don't think they get the 6th straight Beanpot title. I think, you got a surging Northeastern team who wasn't necessarily had a hot start, but has really, won 7 out of their last 9, have seriously turned it around 180. They could seriously, I'm not saying that they might win the game, but they're going to give BC a run for the money. It's not going to be a breeze like it was necessarily last year.
Yeah, I think you're being a little modest there, Brian. Hot start was very modest. They were awful.
Oh.
They were awful to start. I mean, with all the expectations riding on them, they have been playing better of late. So is BC after a slow start. But I think the winner of this Beanpot's coming out of the 5 o'clock game this Monday after the Super Bowl. I think it's, no matter who wins, BU or Harvard, I just think they match up better with the other team. And, yeah, I would love to see Northeastern beat BC. I've wanted that for, 3 or 4 years now. But I honestly think we're going to see another BU-BC final. As much as it's a broken record, it's great hockey. We saw it last year in the semis where a BU team that ended up winning 10 games last year. They gave BC a heck of a game when BC was number 2 in the country. So best tournament in hockey, but as you probably think too, I think the winner's coming out of the first game on the first Monday.
Yeah, that's definitely what I would say too, is whoever, it's either going to be BU or Harvard winning this Beanpot this year, you get a little changing of the guards. I think that if I had to pick the best team in Boston is BU, with Harvard coming in second. So I'm not giving Boston College any love. I think they've hit a little ups and downs, but not to say that they're a bad team. And come Hockey East tournament time and come possibly the national championship time, they're not going to be in the mix. But
yeah, I mean, there's no doubt they'll be ready to play. That's why I think they're going to the finals. They have the best coach in the history of college hockey. As much as I dislike Boston College, I'm not afraid to say that. Jerry York is the best ever. And he's like the Tom Izzo. I mean, he always has his teams ready to play when it matters the most. And, I mean, that's why he's won 4 national championships with them. They're definitely a team to be reckoned with come March, come Hockey East and National. But I just don't think it's their year in the Beanpot. I just don't.
Yeah, and I think that it's just going to be, definitely a tournament that you're going to either want to go watch since it's so close to where we are, or definitely watch it on TV. I know Nesson definitely will be broadcasting both those games. So if it's a snowstorm on Monday, definitely go and watch it on TV because you're going to get some good college hockey. And before we move on to talking about the Super Bowl, I just want to give a shout out to Alicia Berry, who's a Hanson native, who plays as a freshman at Quinnipiac, who actually just played against Boston College the other night in women's hockey. So I definitely wanted to give a shout out to a local native who's in the Division I ranks.
Yeah, it's a BC women's team, I wouldn't doubt, but it's the men's I have my concerns about.
Yeah, well, you could just pretty much say Boston College women's hockey is going to win the national championship this year. You heard it first on Inside of Sports Access TV.
Sure.
Yeah, so we're going to transition over to a little Super Bowl talk. We got a lot to talk about, and we only got about eight or so minutes left, so let's get cracking.
Well, where do we begin as New England Patriots biased reporters? This is probably the best Super Bowl matchup we've seen in a long time. Both great all-around teams. I know you hear about the Patriots offense and the Seahawks defense, but these are two great football teams going at it. Two great football coaches going at it, whether you want to admit it or not, Patriots fans, or you don't like Pete Carroll. But two number one seeds, just something's got to give here between them. I think it's going to be the tightest in years. I mean, you hear it all the time, and it usually doesn't come out that way, but I think there's no way this is a blowout. No way.
Yeah. Well, if you take into account anything that Madden has to do with the Super Bowl, the Patriots won the Madden simulation 28-24, so I'm hoping Madden's right, I guess. I'm not going to lie, I want the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. So if that is any indication, and I guess we kind of have to go by that. I'm just kidding.
A little bit of a Madden curse, too. We're waiting. If you believe in this Madden curse, you've been waiting for Richard Sherman to get hurt all year, and lo and behold, NFC Championship game, Legion of Boom, Legion of Emergency Room. He and Earl Thomas are going to be limping onto that field in Glendale.
Yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. I'm excited for this. We have the whole Deflategate talk. Yes, I guess we're going to mention it briefly. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. Cam, that's all you, buddy.
I just don't even know where to begin. I don't think it had a serious outcome on this game at all. I mean, I was at that game, and there was just... Here's my theory. So the deflated balls, they were taken out at the beginning of the second half. First play of the second half, they reviewed the balls. They got new ones. Fine. So let's just take the Patriots' points from the first half, give them to the Colts. Patriots still win that game 28-24. I mean, there's no way. I feel like there's going to be tough to punish the Patriots for this because they're still investigating. And, I mean, it's just taken away from a great football game. I mean, there's just so much they could be talking about the Super Bowl in this past week and a half. And I don't know anything about this. There's nothing we can say about this. But, I mean, are you going to label them as cheaters? Are you going to say that gave them the edge? Deflated footballs when LeGarrette Blount rushed for 3 touchdowns? If the deflated footballs should have really given them advantage, you'd think Tom Brady would throw for like 400 yards, right? The greatest quarterback of all time, throwing for 230. I mean, that's Troy Aikman numbers, not Tom Brady numbers.
Yeah, I think the whole Deflategate thing has gotten blown out of proportion. And I'm not saying that just as being from Massachusetts. Cam and I might be Patriots fans, but we're taking that aside. I just think that it's not going to have an outcome on this game. I think the Patriots still have the ability to win this game fair and square. Obviously, now that they're going to be triple checking, quadruple checking these footballs for the Super Bowl. And I think if people brought up that if the league was trying to punish, catch them in the act, you wouldn't have done it in an AFC Championship game that was this serious. And anyways, the Patriots scored 28 unanswered points in the second half. So really, your point's invalid. So
you know what this makes me think of a lot is the Colts were saying they sort of had some suspicions in the first game this year. This made me think of the George Brett pine tar incident back in '83. Billy Martin knew he had too much pine tar in his bat, but it wasn't until George Brett hit the home run to give the Royals the lead in the 9th inning that he finally went after him for it. So, and now all this other stuff's coming out. The Panthers thought they did it in the Super Bowl. They thought they taped their walkthrough. Whatever. And it's too bad because if the Patriots lose, God forbid, they're just going to be like, oh, they only won because of the deflated footballs. They're a bunch of cheaters, It's the only way Belichick wins, right?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, win or lose. You're going to get people who are going to be making comments about it. But then you're going to get us happy Patriots fans if they win the Super Bowl, and we're going to be at the parade. So, really, it doesn't hurt us, and it'll be a 4th Super Bowl, right? All right, Cam, so we're getting near the time. It's almost the end of the show, about 4 minutes now. You just take a minute to give a shout-out story that you want to talk about to wrap it up that you feel this show wouldn't be complete without.
Well, I'm going to keep it real simple this week. We talk about 2 of the greatest spectacles of sports we've seen, the Beanpot and the Super Bowl. And I just want to encourage anyone who hasn't been to the Beanpot, go to the Beanpot. If you're a college hockey fan, there's nothing better. And I got to knock it off my bucket list last year. And this upcoming year, Frozen 4 will be knocked off in Boston, another great one you should attend. And the Winter Classic, hopefully, next year. So if you got a sports bucket list, like I encourage everyone to keep one first off. Beanpot's definitely one. Right now it's probably going to be too late, and it's a little pricey, but it's definitely something as a college sports fan, not even just a hockey fan, that you'd want to attend.
Yeah, definitely something that I was lucky enough to knock off my sports bucket list last year. I'll be there again this year. Look for our coverage, by the way, throughout the Beanpot tournament all weekend long. So my shout out today is somewhat sports related, somewhat a little Boston Strong related. I don't know if you've seen the reports, but after the snowstorm that we had the other day, we saw somebody that went along and was able to shovel off the finish line. And that was literally, I kind of teared up a little bit to be able to see that somebody took the time to make sure that we all know what that represents. So we encourage you to check out our website, check out our Twitter, our Facebook, and sorry, I messed up a little bit, but be able to check out all of our coverage. We have a Jalen Adams preview coming up on our website. Definitely want you guys to check that out. We have the ability to cover the Beanpot, cover games. We're going to be live streaming a Rockland-Abington game coming up in just a few weeks on, what's the date for that, Cam?
I believe it's February 3rd, day after the Beanpot.
Yeah, February 3rd, so definitely look out for that. You get all that information on our website at insidersportsaccess.net. You can check us out on Twitter at InsiderSports1, and check us out on Instagram and Facebook as well. You can find those links on the website, and I just think that, it's going to be a lot of good coverage coming up, so definitely check us out. Find me between the pages of the Women-Hanson Express for all your local coverage, and we want to say thank you to our viewers. We'll see you next time on Insider Sports Access TV. I'm Brian McLoughlin. We want to say thank you to Cam Stuart, and have a great night.
So good to see you guys. So, what's up?
Oh, we finally bought a place.
Holy cow.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
Jeez, at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save.
Yeah, I have no idea where it goes.
Well, you're spending a lot on...
Was it good?
Oh, God.
Oh, how is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.